if you're playing somebody who's famous and world famous and has a whole host of mannerisms that are terribly identifiable immediately and different than anybody else's, you're honor-bound to watch them and somehow incorporate them, but not imitate them. Not specifically imitate them, because then I would be a stand-up doing an impression, and I was determined not to do an impression. Richard Nixon was so pervasive in my thoughts and my mind, and I asked if once I put him all together, once we had created him and I was finished in my trailer, when I stepped out of the trailer, I tried and maintained it really for 95% of the film. When I left my trailer, I was Nixon, and I stayed Nixon on the set, sat quietly. I thought I love to knock it around with actors. I love to make jokes and have fun between takes. I think the more relaxed you can be, the better your work is. But I thought if I let down, if I showed myself too much to the company, it wouldn't be as good for them. So when I walked on the set, everybody said, "Good morning, Mr. President. How are you, Mr. President?" And it created a wonderful separateness for Nixon, so that I could maintain his feeling of isolation. If you're sitting with an actor and you make a joke about where you were last night and how things were, and then Ron says, "Okay, action," it's much more difficult to, in this instance, most films I don't do this, but in this instance I wanted that sense that this was the President of the United States, both for them and for me. And it worked fine. When Nixon and Kennedy debated, if you watch those debates, Nixon's marvelous in them. He really is. He's wonderful. He's smart and he's quick, but he looks terrible. You know, he's sweating and he's grayish, gray-faced, and I'm not being a genius here to say that he was the first really great failure of this kind of television, where he was the first person to suffer from image. You know, the way his hair was cut, the way he stood, all of his gestures. It's a shame, isn't it? It's a shame that as time goes on, we're going to get less and less and less great, marvelous, extraordinary, eccentric characters in politics, because inside a lot of those magnificent, odd, offbeat animals can be great men, great politicians, great thinkers. Nixon was brilliant with foreign policy. And we end up saying, "Oh, look at his haircut. Oh, look, he's sweating. Oh, he's got circles under his eyes." And we make fun, and our comics today make ruthless fun of them for that reason. I think one of the most important things to say to anybody who's going to watch it is that it's not a political film. It's not about politics at all. It's not in the sense of telling a political story. It's a human story. It's about being at the very bottom of the barrel and scrambling out, trying to find a way to crawl out and use whatever elements you have inside yourself to get back to a place you used to be and had a hand in letting go of. And I think the film, in that sense, can appeal to a lot of people, because they're not just going to go and watch a piece of history unfold. They're going to watch someone who self-destructed try desperately to get back, and I think that's universal.